Good morning. My name is Bill Sullivan. I'm the Vice President General Manager for U.S. Federal Business at Denodo, the logical platform data company. We're interviewing Dr. Joe Perez on behalf of CDO Magazine. It's a pleasure to have Dr. Perez join us. Well-known public speaker at conferences around the world, and is going to share his thoughts on data, how to make it actionable, how to make it relevant, and how to deliver value through data. We're going to cover a lot of different topics this morning, but before we do that, I wanted to just take a moment and thank you for joining us. CDO Magazine welcomes you, and we appreciate your taking the time to join us. I guess the first thing, just to share with our listeners, our viewers, where'd you grow up? What were some of your, what brought you to here in North Carolina?
Oh my
Helping the
goodness.
state.
So thank you, Bill. To me, it's an honor to be with you this morning, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be on your program. So, as far as where I grew up, it was a little town called Sanford, Florida. Well, it was a little town back when I grew up years and years and years and years ago. At the time, it had a population of maybe 15, 17,000, halfway between Orlando and Daytona Beach, right smack in the middle of Central Florida.
Okay.
They used to call it Celery City in the late 1800s, and that was its nickname. About you'd think citrus was popular, which it was, but at that time, there was a bunch of celery that was planted there. There was an old naval air station that was active from, let's see, the 1940s to around the late 60s, and oh, I remember these huge naval aircraft coming in through a landing. It looked like they were right in front of the front door of my parents' house. That's the house where I grew up. And that house was right in the flight path. I'm not kidding you. We lived maybe less than 2 miles from the airport.
No kidding.
And yeah, no, serious. Well, the Naval Air Station. I call it airport because later it became the Sanford Municipal Airport after the Navy shut it down. But anyway, the base at the time, when it used to be a base anyway, they provided something like half of all the U.S. naval aviators during World War II. So it was a pretty big deal. Now, years later, of course, now that Sanford, I've not been there for a while, but I hear it's a fairly decent sized city now. 60 something thousand people. The decommissioned Naval Air Station that later became a municipal airport, and then it was abandoned for a while. But now that Naval Air Station is an international airport right there in my little hometown of Sanford. So
No
there you
kidding.
go. Yeah,
You,
serious.
you've grown out of it. Well, that's terrific. And now, did you
Yeah.
never had any interest in joining the military, or did the exposure to, that close exposure to
Mm.
aircraft, prompt an interest in technology to you?
That was part of it. I mean, every kid in the late 60s wanted to grow up to be an astronaut. That was a big deal, going to the moon and seeing how America came together to meet the challenges that JFK had put before.
Right.
I want to put a man on the moon before this decade is out and bring him home safely. And everybody took up the challenge, and everybody wanted to be interested in technology and so forth. As far as the military, I've always loved the military. My brother served, my wife's dad served, my wife's brother served. I myself never had the honor of serving, but I support those who do, and I have a military newsletter that I put out every month, and I'm heavily involved in the military ministry of my church, reaching out to them and providing things. And so, I very much honor those who serve, though I myself never had the honor and privilege of serving.
Well, he also serves, who stays at home and tends to the family in the country. So good for you.
Hmm.
That's I did not.
That's
That's
right.
a wrinkle I didn't know about from
Yeah.
your
Yes, sir.
biography.
Yeah.
So, which do you think were, they say only about 15% of the people who pursue a PhD actually attain it. They set out to pursue it. Congratulations on your attaining your PhD. I believe that's at NC State University. Was that correct?
No, sir. It was at Tennessee Temple. And just to be clear, okay, the way my education is, it is a doctoral. It's not a PhD. I completed
Okay.
my undergraduate work and education at Carolina University. And it was called Tennessee Temple University back in the day. It was located in Chattanooga, Tennessee back in those days. It's now Carolina University. Anyway, while in my career as an educator, I went on to pursue a master's degree in education at Freedom University, followed by a doctoral degree in education, also at Freedom, with that double minor that you mentioned in theology and computers. So the education was not at NC State University. I worked at NC State University.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, good. And so you're now still working for the state of North Carolina in the Department of Health and Human Services. Great.
That's correct, sir. Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And again, as we were chatting, getting to know each other earlier, I mentioned that I spent some time there in Raleigh and working for then EDS, doing the Medicaid management system. So I'm familiar with the health and human services industry there in the state and local market. I think they say about 60% of the technology dollars spent in state and local government is spent in health and human services. So what you do is certainly a critical component of managing a large chunk of the budget in the United States government. So just to put that in the context, part of the reason I was excited to speak with you was both personal background as well as an understanding of the importance of what you're doing for the government. How have you been able to apply your education and technology and in education to the mission of health and human services there in North Carolina State, in North Carolina?
Sure. That's an excellent question, Bill. Thank you for asking. How do I apply? Yeah, I do like that question. Transitioning from education to technology was actually a natural progression than you might think. In the last few years of my career as an educator, I took on increasingly responsible jobs that were of a technical nature. It would typically be during the summertime, the months during which I wouldn't be teaching. And that was primarily to supplement my income as an educator because, well, quite frankly, educators typically aren't the best paid professionals,
Yeah.
But yeah, but in keeping with the technology based theme of the minor in my doctorate, it became more than just a way to stay ahead in paying my bills. I was actually getting pretty doggone good at it, often going beyond the call of duty where I worked to resolve issues, to improve efficiencies, and to implement ideas that would greatly benefit the clients, people that I would work for, the different companies, especially as the nature of the work became more and more complex. I was getting better and better able to leverage that graduate education and hone my technical skills. In fact, I got so good at this in those days that they had me running the school computer lab the last year that I taught before
No
going to
kidding.
NC State. Yeah, serious. So when the job offer came for me to become a computer consultant at NC State University, not only was it a major promotion for me in morphing to technology, it was indeed a natural evolution in my career progression, as it was a true blending of my two great professional loves, which is, well, education and technology, the mixing of the two. So then as I rose through the ranks at NC State University over the next 25 years after that to, let's see, computer training manager, then analyst programmer, and then finishing up as business intelligence specialist. Not only was I responsible for leading teams, designing educational training programs, but also, well, educating our key stakeholders about the multifaceted data, student data, faculty data, employee data, all that we're supposed to be reporting on, about the insights that they could derive from those data. I really enjoyed showing these people just how satisfying that insight can be. And even more so when you just happen to be the one who gets to present the data, especially when it's being presented in a logical, truthful, and visually compelling manner. And with all that being said, my educational background in both computers and theology, and even education as well, it provided me with a unique perspective and a perspective that allowed me to effectively bridge that gap between technical expertise and human understanding. And you know what, Bill? I had a great time doing it too.
Yeah. On behalf of CDO Magazine, we're truly grateful for you joining us this morning. We wish you all the best efforts there in North Carolina, and hopefully I'll be able to catch your presentation at a conference soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. The honor and pleasure have been mine, sir.
Thank you so much.